Good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome once again, where we are back diving into the James Bond promotional material archive with a look at one of the weirder artifacts in the MI6 vault. The Bond movie promotional blitz is known as one of the biggest and most lavish in all of entertainment, and it kind of always has been. I've recently been really enjoying looking at other video pieces that merged original content with clips from the films themselves in order to promote the latest Bond adventures of their times. But James Bond in India breaks barriers by being a promotional film that does not feature any clips from the film it's promoting, nor scripted segments with the actors. This is a bizarrely candid affair comprised entirely of unfiltered on-set footage of the cast and crew of Octopussy on location in India for filming, but rather than act as a documentary, it's strangely freewheeling and unstructured, with some interesting creative choices and snippets that we're going to be looking at today. It is indeed a rare breed, but is it worth a Bond fan's time to go back and revisit this today? Let's see, shall we?
India, a land of fabled contrast where East meets West in a never-ending kaleidoscope of old and new.
Things begin, and you'd be mistaken for thinking that this was some kind of geographical history program. I guess it's here as a scene-setting thing, but it's just quite bizarre coming to this after I've recently looked at the likes of Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond, and the 25th anniversary special, which is so blatantly, glossy promotional things. And this is just, well, it's just quite a dour start to things, really. We quickly see some signs of 007, though, and we get the information that this particular sequence is being filmed on the first day of the India shoot for Octopussy. A rather windswept Roger Moore appears at around the 3-minute mark and is immediately his charming, affable self.
The crowds are in a festive mood while awaiting the arrival of international superstar Roger Moore. And he leaves no doubt as to who he is.
My name is Bond, Brooke Bond, and I've come here to sell tea. You may think this is bringing coals to Newcastle, but that's the sort of Bond I am.
I think it's terribly unfair for one man to have been graced with that amount of charm. Like, he's just effortlessly affable and funny and likable, and it's a shame we couldn't milk the charm out of him and sell it in bottles. Ooh, that sounds so wrong. Small thing, but I absolutely love how he stands with his hand on his heart when he hears someone playing the James Bond theme on a flute. Anyway, things start to get quite good here, actually, as we get some candid shots of Moore shooting Bond's introduction to VJ in the film, and what follows is some strange but quite amazing fly-on-the-wall style footage of just the cameraman following Roger and VJ around the streets, and it's quite lovely because it feels like this is just kind of what it would have been like to hang out with the guys, and it's impossible not to smile at Roger and VJ both roaring with laughter as a co-worker steps into some camel dung off camera.
Right up of that. Now close over his foot.
He'll be cleaning his shoes for a week. It's also really funny watching him just take the piss out of a terrified VJ, VJ has to hold onto a basket with a frigging cobra in it, and Roger's just prattling about, and you can just tell that VJ's all like, yeah, first day of filming, make a good impression, don't shout at the star, just grin, just smile, it'll be over soon. This is all lovely stuff, but it's a shame that the narrator of the piece doesn't share Roger's wit and art of delivery. Indeed, this narrator is the main detracting factor of this piece.
VJ summed up his own feelings when he said it was no easier than playing with John McEnroe.
Do you get it? John McEnroe. It's funny because I'm likening a famous tennis player with a cobra in a basket. I'm told it's a humorous punchline. Unfortunately, I was tragically born without the ability to emote joy of any kind. However, I hope you enjoyed it. John McEnroe. I think this lady perfectly sums up any audience's reaction to that particular gag. It's quite something to see how busy and bustling this place is, even when a major film like Bond is shooting there. It really does just look like life is going on as usual around the actors, who here deliver some dialogue that did not make it into the final film.
Okay, action, Roger. Uh-oh, here comes trouble. How long have you been handling snakes? I've never handled them in my life. I hate snakes. I told them I wanted to sell vegetables. This was the wrong cover.
Anyway, things take a turn here as the narrator suddenly starts to get all hot and bothered, and the mere sight of some pretty ladies appearing on screen diverts his attention.
While the crew is working in the 103 degrees heat, some visitors from England arrive to help raise the temperature even more.
My temperature has raised significantly since this shot started. Please don't tell my wife. She still hasn't gotten over the time I said hi to that nice lady at the post office.
Former Miss World, Mary Staven, and the others don't look like they've just arrived after a 20-hour trip.
Not like my wife, who can't go a 20-minute car journey without looking like she's been dragged through a hedge backwards. It quickly becomes apparent that the cameraman was about as horny as the narrator here, as he just starts zooming in on ladies' bottoms and people just going about their business around the hotel pool. Literally, there's just a shot of a lady's bum as she readjusts herself a bit before someone steps in the way, and then the cameraman quickly loses interest. This segment of the program focuses on the shoot around the hotel, but just as Roger appears and gets your hopes up that he's just going to be allowed to muck about and entertain us all, alas, both the cameraman and the narrator are away from their wives, and I guess they need some titillating, and we instead focus on a group of the Octopussy girls learning how to row. I'd love to know what the meetings for this program were like what planning went into this shoot. I can only assume it went something like this. Right, so we have Roger Moore, Maud Adams, Vijay Armitage, Louis Jourdan. Okay, great. So I'm thinking what we do is we spend like half a day with each of them, and really get to know them and kind of how they feel about their characters, maybe some general comments about the story, and then, you know, sort of light, fluffy stuff about how they feel about filming in India. Do you have any thoughts on this? Ladies' bottoms. Huh. I mean, okay, interesting. I don't think that audiences are generally tuning in just for that. Ladies' bottoms. Okay, I hear you, but how about ladies' bottoms? Ladies' bottoms. Ladies' bottoms. Fortunately, we quickly get back to the set, and all this behind-the-scenes stuff is really cool and really lovely. I love the time capsule aspect of some of these older Bond films, and going a step beyond what is even in the film and going on and seeing what's behind the camera is just so great. And just the tiny bits of details we see being discussed, like there's a bit of black or something on Roger Moore's suit jacket, and they need to attend to it with some scissors, and you just see them dealing with that. And obviously a proper retrospective documentary would focus on the bigger picture of production, like the Inside documentaries on a lot of the Bond DVDs and Blu-ray discs, but this stuff is just so candid and off the cuff, and I really enjoy seeing these relatively small and somewhat trivial things going on, but it is a good reminder of the minutiae that actually goes into filmmaking. Anyway, back to the narrator.
When Roger first saw these elephants, his comment was that they had better wardrobe and makeup than the actors.
I believe I delivered that line as well as he did. However much I may yearn to keep watching Roger just moseying through the streets, signing autographs, and Kabir Bedi cracking wise on top of an elephant, it's like the cameraman got wind of there being an island full of beautiful women being prepared for the film, so off we go for many an awkward shot of the group of women just kind of hanging out, and to be honest, I'm not convinced that most of these women knew they were even being filmed. Things take a bit of an odd turn when the narrator tells us that it's actually one of the actress's birthdays, and then we cut to Roger Moore blowing out candles? Like, way to hijack a birthday, dude. Anyway, more good behind-the-scenes stuff here of Bond and Magda's dinner together, but this is short-lived as it's back to watching the Octopussy girls go about their business. The program has made a real point of focusing in on one lady in particular, Mary Staven, who also appears in A View to a Kill and won Miss World and is a clear favourite of the narrator, as is Christina Wayborn, who prompts this astonishingly lively comment from the narrator.
Even in the incredible heat of Udaipur, Christina always manages to look like an ice cream sundae.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get that excited there, but if you'll excuse me for a moment, I may need to change my pants. This is followed by yet more shots of scantily clad women just hanging out, but then we get some shots of Roger Moore just hanging out in here with Maud Adams, which is really lovely. And then we get to see some rehearsal footage from the ending of the film, which here includes a character detail not actually in the final film that I find slightly interesting. When Octopussy tries to get away, Kamal Khan indicates to henchman Gobinder that he should strike her, implying that Gobinder would not have done so without instruction. In the film, obviously, we don't see this action from Kamal Khan, but it's a really kind of wicked thing to do and quite an apt thing for a villain like him. Lots of really great material follows from the safari sequence from the film, which is undersold by the further comedy stylings of the narrator.
For this scene, Roger said he hoped his flies wouldn't get stuck in the spider web.
Do you get it? Flies? It's quite remarkable, the sheer fun sponge ability that this voice has. I mean, I don't know how you can go about delivering lines like this without even a hint of irony.
An actor really earns his pay when he has to perform under a 3-ton elephant.
However, once again, just seeing some snippets of the actors goofing off between takes is an absolute delight.
Trouble in the ranks. I think we should be talking about. We should refer to dummy dialogue, so that we look very much interested. Thanks, everybody.
There's also something quite mesmerising about seeing Roger and Maud Adams just hanging out with and feeding some of the elephants that were used in the film. I kind of wish we saw more of Maud Adams trying to feed a cracker to the elephant with her mouth, which doesn't seem like a terribly foolproof idea, but whatever. Things just kind of wrap up around this point, and the camera follows Roger returning to his hotel, diving into the pool, and then having some back and forth with his wife before it just ends. Of the various pieces of James Bond promotional material I've covered on this channel so far, this is without a doubt the weirdest. The others all kind of made sense format-wise, and you can imagine how they were used on TV and the like, but this is just coming in with little to no explanation. It's all just a bit jarring. It's not at all clear who this was made for, or where you would have seen it back in 1983, but this does also work to the program's benefit in a lot of strange ways, because it doesn't feel like it's structured to work on television. It doesn't need to leave cheesy ad break hooks or shoehorn in a host or anything. It's just presented as fly-on-the-wall footage of the location shoot. To be honest, if it weren't for the narrator and the credits at the start, I'd just assume that this was someone on the crew who had their own camera taking random snippets of film every now and then, but the inclusion of the narration is really what makes this a very weird watch. The delivery is just so dry and matter-of-fact, even when it comes to delivering some of the more light-hearted lines. It just doesn't gel at all with what we're seeing on screen, which is either, well, the majority of which is either ladies' bottoms or the light-hearted antics of Roger Moore, the latter obviously being the main highlight of the package.
Hello, darling. My next leading lady.
I know I say this all the time when I'm talking about Roger Moore, but the guy just is a delight to watch, no matter what he's doing. His love of life and of what he did just permeates everything he does. He's just about the most likable, funny, affable person you could ever watch, whether it is in a multi-million-dollar blockbuster or a post office advert or indeed a bizarre promotional short like this. His energetic and fun presence elevates this significantly and makes it well worth your time revisiting today. As much as I got a lot out of Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond and the 25th anniversary special, they are essentially clip shows, meaning that the original content, which is the main reason to go back and watch this stuff now, is few and far between. Here, the whole thing is the fly-on-the-wall, behind-the-scenes stuff, so it's just half an hour of that, and if you can persevere through some excruciating narration, there's some really lovely moments in here, particularly if you get a lot out of seeing the minute details of filmmaking at work. Most of the lovely moments come from Moore, and there's a nice time capsule aspect to it that makes it all very watchable. If you're a Moore fan like me, it's definitely worth a go. As Calvin would usually quip, that is it for this time, Bond fans. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, there are more like it to enjoy over on the Calvin Dyson channel. If you could kindly like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, that would be really lovely, as both acts help to boost the page so that more Bond fans like yourself have a chance of finding it. Also below, you can find links to various social media pages, ones that I'm not allowed on since I liked too many pictures of ladies' bottoms and melted ice creams. But that's another story. Links to Calvin's Twitter and Facebook pages are below, as well as a link to his Patreon page, where he's very close to achieving his next milestone target, which means he'll finally commit to making a video ranking of all the James Bond actors, from worst to best. Head over to that page to find out more. And until next time, Bond fans, as Calvin would often exclaim, so long for now.